Hello, everybody, guys. My name is Ivan, and today, guys, we are going to be continuing off from where we left off from the Fazbear'S Fright into the Pit story. We're going to continue on from where we left off from the last one, so no comments yet still. That's all right. It's going to take some time to process, what happened in the last episode, so I'll let you guys just keep on theorizing about it, and just let me know whenever you guys got it, alright? But today, guys, we're going to be moving on, whether you guys have caught up or not. So, let's see where we left off here. Alright, so we left off on page 14. So, we left off on this page, guys. Left off on this page. So, let's go ahead and continue. I'm just going to get straight into this and start reading. So, I'm thinking we read the same amount of pages, maybe 14. Or maybe we move it up to, like, maybe 20 or something. We'll see. But anyway, let us continue. Oswald knew that ball pits had been popular features in kiddie playlands, but had largely disappeared because of concerns about hygiene. After all, who was going to disinfect all those balls? Oswald had no doubt that if ball pits had still been popular when he was little, his mom wouldn't have let him play in one. As a licensed practical nurse, she was always happy to point out places she found to be too germy to play in. And when Oswald would complain that she never let him have any fun, she'd say, "You know what's not fun? Pink eye." Except for the empty stage in the ball pit, the strangest feature in Jeff's Pizza was Jeff himself. He seemed to be the only person who worked there, so they both took orders at the counter and made the pizzas. But the place was never crowded enough that this was a problem. Today, like all other days, Jeff looked as if he hadn't slept in a week. His dark hair was sticking up in weird places, and he had alarming bags under his bloodshot eyes. His apron was stained with both recent and ancient tomato sauce. "What can I get you?" He asked Oswald, sounding bored. "A cheese slice and an orange soda, please," Oswald said. Jeff stared off into the distance, as though he had to think about whether the request was a responsible one or not. Finally, he said, "Okay, $3.50. One thing you could say about Jeff's pizza slices, they were huge. So we're getting introduced to this Jeff guy. You guys think he's like an employee at the place? Probably he is. Well, pretty sure he's some sort of worker. We're getting introduced to him. Now, they're saying that he hasn't, like things like he probably hasn't slept in a week and stuff. So, what are your guys' comments on that? You guys think this guy's the killer, Jeff? You think Jeff is the killer? We will see. Jeff served them on flimsy white paper plates that were soon stained with grease, and the corners of the triangles always overlapped the plate's rims. Oswald settled into a booth with his slice and soda. The first bite, the tip of the triangle, was always the best. Somehow, the proportions of all the flavors in that bite were perfect. He savored the warm, melty cheese, the tangy sauce, and the pleasantly greasy crust. As he ate, he looked around at the few other customers. A pair of mechanics from the oil change place had folded up their pepperoni slices and were eating them like sandwiches. A table full of office workers clumsily attacked their slices with plastic forks and knives, so they wouldn't drip sauce on their ties and blouses, Oswald guessed. So what do you think is going on, like some sort of riot or something? After Oswald finished his slice, he wished for one more, but knew he didn't have the money for it. So he wiped off his greasy fingers and took out his library book. He slipped his soda and read, falling into a world where kids with secret powers went to a special school to learn how to fight evil. "Kid!" A man's voice startled Oswald out of the story. He looked up to see if Jeff in his sauce-stained apron. Oswald figured he had outstayed his welcome. He had sat in a booth reading for 2 hours after having bought a meal that cost less than $4. Interesting, right, guys? So there's some strange things starting to go on now. Really peculiar things. This guy Jeff looks like he hasn't been sleeping. He has bloodshot eyes, and he's like an employee at this place, right? Something's going on that's fishy. Hopefully you guys can like start coming up with theories, because I think something fishy is going on here, and I think you guys are starting to see that too, hopefully. "Yes, sir," Oswald said, because politeness never hurt. "I got a couple more slices that didn't sell at lunch. You want them?" "Oh," Oswald said. "No thanks, I don't have any more money." He wished he did, though. "On the house?" Jeff said. "I just have to throw them out anyway." "Oh, okay, sure, thanks." Jeff picked up Oswald's empty cup. "I'll get you some more orange soda while I'm at it." "Thanks." It was funny. Jeff's expression never changed. He looked tired and miserable even when he was being extra nice. Jeff brought 2 slices stacked on a paper plate and a fresh cup of orange soda. "Here you go, kid," he said, setting down the cup and the plate. "Thank you." Oswald wondered for a minute if Jeff felt sorry for him. If Jeff might think he was terribly poor, like the homeless people who hang out all day in the library. Instead of just the regular, barely making ends meet, poor that he was. But then Oswald figured if there were free pizza sitting in front of you, maybe it wasn't time to worry about the reasons for it. Maybe it was time to eat. Oswald had no problem polishing off the 2 huge slices. For the past month, his appetite had been unstoppable. When Mom cooked him piles of pancakes in the morning, she said he must be having a growth spurt, causing him to eat like he had a hollow leg. His phone vibrated in his pocket the second he sucked down the last of his soda. He looked at his dad. He looked at his dad's text. "We'll be out front at Jeff's in 2 minutes." Perfect timing. It had been a good day. The days at the library and Jeff's Pizza started to add up. The first couple of weeks had been great. But now the library didn't have the next book in the series he was reading. And he had grown bored with his offline fantasy game, which, while advertised as free, now wouldn't let him advance any further without paying money. He had gotten tired of not having anybody his age to hang out with. He hadn't gotten tired of the pizza yet, but he was starting to imagine that he might in the future. Tonight was family fun night, a one-night-a-week event that varied depending on Mom's work schedule. Back when the mill was still open, family fun night meant dinner in a restaurant, pizza or Chinese or Mexican. After their meal, they do some fun activities together. They'd go to the movies if something kid-friendly was playing, but if not, they'd go to the bowling alley or to the roller rink where Mom and Dad used to go on dates when they were in high school. Strange. Okay, that was kind of weird. Mom and Dad were great skaters, and Oswald was terrible. But they'd skate on either side of him, holding his hands and keeping him up. They'd usually top off their evening with a waffle cone at the ice cream place downtown. Oswald and Mom would make fun of Dad because no matter what ice cream flavors were available, he always got vanilla. Which is kind of interesting, right, guys? Since the mill closed down, though, Family Fun Night had turned into an at-home affair. Mom would make something for dinner that was easy but festive, like tacos from a mixer hot dogs. They'd eat and then play board games or watch a movie they'd rented from Redbox. It was still fun, of course, but sometimes Oswald wished aloud for the old days of seeing new movies at the theater and having waffle cones after. And Dad had to remind him that the important thing was that they all got to spend time together. Sometimes, when the weather was nice, they'd have a family fun night. They'd pack a picnic of cold cuts and salads courtesy of the snack space and head over to the state park. They'd eat their dinner at a wooden table and watch the squirrels and birds and raccoons. Afterward, they'd go for a walk on one of the hiking trails. These outings were always a nice change, but Oswald was also aware of why these were the only family fun nights that ever got them out of the house. Picnics were free. Tonight they were staying in. Mom had made spaghetti and garlic bread. They had played a game of Clue, which Mom won, as she usually did, and now they were piled up on the couch together in their pajamas with a huge bowl of popcorn between them, watching a remake of an old science fiction movie. Once the movie was over, Dad said, "Well, that was pretty good, but not as good as the real version." "What do you mean, the real version?" Oswald said. "That was a real version?" "Not really," Dad said. I mean, it was set in the same universe as the real version, but it was kind of a cheap knockoff of the one that came out when I was a kid. Dad always had to be so opinionated. He could never just watch something and enjoy it. So the best movies are always the ones that you watched when you were a kid, Oswald said. Not always, but in this case, yes. Dad was settling in, Oswald could tell, for one of his favorite things, a good argument. "But the special effects in the original version stink," Oswald said. "All those puppets and rubber masks." "I'll take a puppet or model over CG any day," Dad said, leaning back on the couch and propping his feet on the coffee table. "That stuff is so slick and fake. It's got no warmth, no texture, and besides, you like those old Zenderlix movies, and the special effects in those are terrible." "Yeah, but I just watched those to make fun of them," Oswald said, even though he really did think Zenderlix was pretty cool. Mom came in from the sorry guys, I can't read. Mom came in from the kitchen with bowls of ice cream. Not as good as waffle cone place, but nothing to turn your nose up at either. Okay, if you guys don't cut the nerd argument, I'm gonna pick the next movie that we watch. And it's going to be a romantic comedy. Oswald and his dad shut up immediately. "That's about what I thought," Mom said, passing around the bowls of ice cream. As As Oswald was lying in bed sketching his mechanical animals, his phone vibrated on his nightstand. There was only one person other than his parents who ever texted him. Hey, Ben typed on the screen. Hey back, Oswald typed. How's your summer? Awesome. At Myrtle Beach for vacation, it's so cool. Arcades and mini golf everywhere. Jealous, Oswald typed. And he meant it. A beach with arcades and mini golf really did sound awesome. Wish you were here, Ben typed. Me too. How's your summer? Okay, Oswald texted. He was briefly tempted to make his summer sound cooler than it was, but he could never lie to Ben. Been going to the library a lot, lunch at Jeff's Pizza? That's all. It did sound pathetic compared with a family trip to the beach. He texted, pretty much, yeah. I'm sorry, Ben texted, and then, that pizza place is creepy. They chatted a little while longer, and although Oswald was happy to hear from Ben, he was also sad that his friend was so far away and having such a good time without him. Monday morning, and Oswald was in bad mood. Even his mom's pancakes didn't help. In the car, Dad turned up the radio too loud. It was some stupid song about a tractor. Oswald reached for the knob and turned it down. Hey dude, driver picks the music. You know that, Dad said. He turned the awful song back up even louder. It's bad music, Oswald said. I'm trying to save you from yourself. Well, I don't like those video game songs you listen to, Dad said. But I don't just barge into your room and turn them off. Yeah, Oswald said. But I don't force you to listen to them either. Dad turned the radio down. What's with the attitude, son? Whatever's bothering you, it's not just that I like country music. Oswald didn't feel like talking, but clearly he was being forced to. And once he opened his mouth, he was surprised to feel complaints erupting from him like lava from a volcano. I'm tired of every day being exactly the same, Ben texted me yesterday. He's at Myrtle Beach having an awesome time. He wanted to know what I was doing. And I told him I was going to the library and Jeff's Pizza every day. And you know what he texted back? I'm sorry. And that pizza place is creepy. Dad sighed. I'm sorry we can't go on vacation and have an awesome time, Oz. Things are hard right now where money's concerned. I'm sorry if it affects you. You're a kid. You shouldn't have to worry about money. I'm hoping they'll move me to full-time at the store in the fall. That'll help a lot. And if I get promoted to deli manager, I'll be another $1.50 an hour. Oswald knew he shouldn't say what he was about to say, but here he went anyway. Ben's dad got a job that pays even better than his old job at the mill. Dad tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Yeah, well, and Ben's dad had to move 500 miles away to get that job. His voice sounded tight as his grip on the wheel, and Oswald could tell his jaw was clenched. Your mom and I talked a lot about it, but we decided not to move, especially with your grandma living here and needing help sometimes. This is our home, kiddo, and things aren't perfect, but we just have to make the best of them. Oswald felt himself crossing the line from grumbling into grounding territory. But why did some Some people get the best of everything and others had to settle for free library visits and cheap pizza. And so every day you toss me on the street like garbage. If this is the best things, I'd hate to see the worst. Now, son, you don't think that's a little dramatic? Oswald didn't stick around to hear the rest of his dad's criticism. He got out of the car and slammed the door. His dad sped away, probably glad to get rid of him. Just as he predicted, the library still didn't have the book he wanted. He flipped through a few magazines, the kind with exotic jungle animals, which he usually liked, but they weren't doing much for him today. When his turn came for a computer, he put his earbuds and watched some YouTube videos. But he wasn't in a good enough mood to laugh. At lunchtime, he sat on Jeff's pizza with his slice and soda. Every day, a cheese slice. If his dad wasn't so stingy, he'd give him another $1 so he could have pepperoni or sausage. But no, it had to be the cheapest pizza you could get. Sure, money was tight, but really was another $1 a day to bring the bank. Looking around the place, Oswald decided Ben was right. Jeff's pizza was creepy. There was those shadowy painted over figures on the walls, the dusty abandoned ball pit. And when he thought about it, Jeff was kind of creepy too. He looked 100 years old, but was probably just 30. With those heavy-lidded, bloodshot eyes, the stained apron, and the slow speech and movement, he was like a zombie pizza chef. Oswald thought his argument with Dad that morning. Oswald thought about his argument with Dad that morning. Soon, Dad would be texting him, expecting him to come outside to the car. Well, today was going to be different. Today, Dad would have to come and find him. There was one perfect place to hide. Oswald was going into the pit. The pit was pretty gross, really. Obviously untouched for years. The plastic spheres were covered in a gray, fuzzy dust. But hiding there would be a great prank on his dad. His dad, who was dropping him off and picking him up like somebody's dry cleaning, would actually have to get out of the car and make an effort for a change. Oswald wouldn't make it easy for him either. Oswald took off his shoes. Yes, the ball pit was disgusting, but at least getting into it would make today different from all the other days that had come before it. He climbed into the pit and felt the balls parting to make room for his body. He moved his arms and legs. It was a little like swimming. If he could swim in dirty plastic spheres, he found his footing at the bottom of the pit. Some of the balls were strangely sticky, but he tried not to think about why. If he was going to trick his dad, he was going to have to go all the way under. He took a deep breath as if he were about to jump into a swimming pool and fell to his knees. That put him up to his neck. Wiggling around so he was sitting on the pit's floor, put his head under too. The balls spread apart far enough that he could breathe, but it was dark and made him feel claustrophobic. The place stank of dust and mildew. Pink eye. He could hear his mother's voice saying, "You're going to get pink eye." The smell really was getting to him. The dust tickled his nose. He felt a sneeze coming on, but he couldn't move his hand through the spheres fast enough to reach his nose and muffle it. He sneezed 3 times, each one louder than the one before. Oswald didn't know if his dad was looking for him yet, but if he was, the sneezing ball pit had probably given away his location. Besides, it was too dark and too gross in there. He had to come up for air. As he rose... Sorry guys, my computer keeps falling asleep. As he rose, his ears were assaulted by the sound of beeping electronics and yelling and laughing kids. It took a few seconds for his eyes to adjust from the darkness of the pit to the brightness that now surrounded him. The flashing lights and vivid colors. He looked around and muttered, "Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore." The walls were lined with shiny arcade cabinets, housing games he'd heard his dad talk about from his own childhood. Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Kubert, Galaga. A neon-lighted claw machine displayed plush blue elf-like creatures and orange cartoon cats. He looked down at the pit and realized he was surrounded by little kids wallowing in the strangely clean and now brightly colored plastic orbs. He stood over the preschoolers like a giant. He stepped out of the pit to find his shoes, but they were gone. Standing on the colorful carpet in his sock feet, he looked around. There were lots of kids his age and younger, but there was something different about them. Everyone's hair was styled and fluffy, and the boys wore polo shirts in colors lots of guys wouldn't be caught dead in, like pink or aqua. The girls' hair was almost unbelievably big, with bangs that stood out from their foreheads like claws. They wore pastel-colored tops that matched the pastel-colored shoes. The colors, the lights, the sounds, it was sensory overload. And what was that music? Alright guys, well, that's where we're going to go ahead and stop it for today. So, now we're starting to get into the supernatural, as you guys can tell. We're definitely starting to get into the supernatural. They're talking about kids kids underneath the ball pit and everything. Underneath the ball pit, he was hearing and seeing these kids, right? So they're basically spirits, basically. They're definitely spirits that he saw down there, and I'm guessing they're like dead kids or something. I'm pretty sure they're spirits of dead kids. So if you guys are theorizing what I'm theorizing right now, good on you. I'm thinking Jeff is the killer. I think the reason why he's been staying awake is because he's been killing kids. He's been murdering kids and you know, probably stuffing them or something. But who knows? He's most likely been murdering kids. That's why he hasn't been getting any sleep. He looks really, you know. But that's what I'm thinking. Let me know what you guys think. But that's my theory so far that's happening. Very interesting if so. Yeah. Yeah, so we're leaving off on page 27, guys. Page 27. All right. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna go ahead and end that here. So now we're really like starting to get into the supernatural. He started like hearing kids laughing, and in the ball pit when he was underneath the ball pit and everything, he was not only hearing them laugh and everything, but he was, I think, also seeing them too. And he was towering over them because, you know, he was obviously taller than them, because they were like kindergartners, right? They were preschoolers, so basically kindergartners. He was seeing, I'm pretty sure, I know it probably doesn't say it yet, but I'm pretty sure he's seeing the spirits of those preschoolers, like the dead spirits of those preschoolers, right? So yeah, We'll see where it picks up from here. Very, very interesting so far. I'm really loving it. Really, really loving the story so far. Hopefully you guys are too. If you are, make sure you guys all please hit that subscribe button if you have not already done so. Please. Y'all are doing great with that. And it really means a lot to me. It really does, honestly. And also, not only that though, make sure you guys please hit that like button too, so that and that post notification bell, so that way you guys will get notified whenever I upload any of my videos. And as always, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye bye, guys.